you? Who are we?
We're the
We're the
Lemon
Lemon
Twins.
Welcome back to our channel. So today, what do we have in store? So the topic that's been on my mind, right, has been about this whole talk you through it that I've been seeing all over TikTok, all talk you through it, and we obviously know what context that's in. But I was just thinking, like, what ways do we need to talk ourselves through it? Talk ourselves through this thing called life. Like the things that we're going through every day. We need something. We need to tell ourselves something to get ourselves excited for the day. Especially me, I really need that to get me going. That energy. And even to just calm myself when I'm like just nervous, anxious, scared about what's going to be happening in the day. I talk myself through it. I give myself a minute. I have a conversation with myself. Like, how am I gonna tackle today? How can today be exciting for me? Like, oh, we're gonna get some cake. That's
So
just an example.
when I hear the words talking through it, I guess I just imagine like when you are going through like a specific thing, difficult moment maybe, and you just need to kind of talk yourself through that emotion and that feeling. And when you say talking through it, you think about that TikTok video or those TikTok videos where people are just talking people through it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's quite an interesting take. So what led you to this point?
I didn't want to address the obvious origin of talking you through it in its original context. I wanted to apply that in a situation where we can talk ourselves through it or talk to each other through it. I think we definitely talk each other through it a lot. And by talk each other through it, I mean life. Whenever I'm having difficult times, I can bring the difficult thing I'm struggling to you. For example, let's say, if I'm really struggling, having a hard time with the projects, I'll tell you about the project and you can talk me through it. Like, you got this, you're alright. Obviously, if you feel like you can relate or you have your own ways of talking yourself through it, or even each other and your friends, write it down in the comments and help someone else out. You never know who you can inspire with the way that you resolve conflict or scary times in your life.
Yeah, we definitely would like to hear from you. Personally, for me, talking myself through some things when I normally experience a feeling of anxiety. So for me, anxiety comes in different forms, and I know for different people, they experience anxiety in different ways. Anxiety is such a negative term, so you never really want to associate yourself with the word anxiety. And I never want to call myself like an anxious person, but really and truly, the best word to describe those feelings that you'll be having or the feelings that I'll be experiencing is anxiety. So for me, anxiety could be things like feeling very self-conscious about maybe the way that I look or the way that I sounded in a conversation. But
for me, it's usually in areas where I'm outside of my home. I just have a fear of being perceived in the wrong way. Like, I like to control the narrative about myself a lot. And most of the time, I'm always thinking people are thinking the worst of me. So that's where most of the anxious thoughts arise. When I have to talk to people, I worry too much about how I'm being perceived, where it gets to a point where I'm just, they think I'm weird. They think I talk too much or something like that.
yeah.
But what about you?
I'm too like involved in the other person's thoughts.
Yeah.
Like I'm literally making up a narrative in their head of how they're receiving the conversation.
Yeah.
Or how they're receiving my actions,
Yeah.
things like that, and that kind of makes me anxious. And it's like a consistent feeling. So if it was just like in one or two moments, but it's like every single interaction that I have with someone outside of the house, that's how I end up feeling. But yeah.
Well, the most common ways that anxiety can show up is things like having self-doubt or, like having a fear of judgment, excessive worrying, all or nothing, like that pressure, like just putting unnecessary pressure on yourself to achieve certain results. It could be overreacting, overgeneralizing.
And then also feeling like you've overreacted in a situation.
It makes you anxious.
Yeah.
It makes you anxious.
Yeah, exactly.
There's so many little unnecessary things that happen day to day that I can get anxious about. And all these things all come into one. It's just like dissecting this one big feeling. And this one big feeling stems from the act of being perceived itself. Because if I didn't have to be perceived, I'm sure there'd be nothing I'd be anxious about.
Yeah.
I think again it comes back to that fear of being seen.
Yeah.
You know, that's the reason why we didn't start this YouTube many years ago,
Mm.
because it's a good way to control your narrative, to put yourself out there, but it's also very dangerous because some people could think they know you from a 10-minute clip, a 10-minute video, and now they have these perceptions of you. And I think the biggest way I've learned to tackle those thoughts, or the best way I talk myself through it, is to just remind myself that it's not important what everyone thinks about you. Like, that's not what you're living for. You're not doing a performance.
Yeah.
You're not on a stage. You're not acting. No one is watching you every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you know what you said about the whole like you're not acting thing. In a way, I feel like if I don't have those talks to myself, so if I don't talk myself through anything, I end up acting as someone else in order to like mask. The perfect way to kind of show it is like that movie Inside Out. The way that anxiety was acting in that movie, like literally just like start acting like someone else, like your friends wouldn't even recognize you. But maybe not to that scale. It could literally be just like you don't even recognize yourself at this point because, you know, something else, an emotion is driving you. You know, an emotion that is driven by just what was that word that you used? Like
Self-doubt?
Yeah, self-doubt, or, you know, that fear of being seen is like trying to mask or hide something inside of you. So I end up finding myself in situations where I am acting, and it's so hard to kind of regulate yourself and come back and just say, hey, it's all right. You don't have to act. Nobody is even watching the movie. It's all right.
Yeah.
Nobody's watching the plot. Don't worry.
Yeah, and I think it's something you kind of have to intentionally do, like talk yourself through it. Talk yourself through those times where you feel like, hey, I'm not being my authentic, true self right now. And why is that? That's how you get to tackle, like, why is this thing made me anxious? And, you know, where is that coming from? Why am I carrying or trying to mind read what these people think about me? Unless they've addressed it to me and have said to them, you know, come up to me with this information and said, I think your voice is too quiet, or this is that. Then we can address it and say, listen, if my voice is too quiet, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do about it. This is the comfortable volume that I feel like I want to speak at. So, you know, but obviously if you're doing a presentation, you're gonna need to compromise. There's no one size fits all answer for everything. But that's how I talk myself through it. Like, listen, let's not make assumptions.
Yeah.
Let's just stay in the moment. You know, I just remind myself, stay in the moment and don't worry about what everyone else is thinking. Let's just get through this.
So you might be faced with situations where you've triggered your own anxiety. Let's say you've ended up stumbling upon your words. You're trying to say one thing and you end up saying another thing, and then that makes you feel anxious because it's like, oh my god, everyone probably thinks this and that about me. What we can try to do in those moments is just to remember that that moment has passed. It's passed for you. It's passed for everyone else who's experienced it in the room. Just think about it as if someone else was the one who did what you've just done. They would probably just move on as if it was nothing. And even if they don't, like, you think about it yourself. Do you think about that person? Do you think about the time when they mumbled up their words? Like, unless it's like in a funny way, actually. And if there's anyone who's laughing at you for the little minor mistakes that you make, then it's not anyone you should be concerned with.
Yeah.
And
But
you should
that
convince
person is
yourself
not even
that
the
way.
main character in their own lives. They're too concerned about what's going on in your life that they have to take a moment out of their own lives.
That they're taking notes on your life.
Yeah.
Like, 7 billion people in this world.
Yeah.
And, you know, we probably don't even meet 1 million of them in a lifetime.
We don't.
So why would you care what one person thinks?
Yeah, it'd be the stupidest things that make you feel anxious, like what you said, stumbling upon your words. Like, that's such a silly thing, but I'll be like, okay, I've stumbled upon my words, and then I'm feeling anxious about it, and I've talked myself through it another way when it comes to stumbling through my words. I'm like, okay, but why am I nervous that I've stumbled? Why is this making me feel anxious? And it's because I'll be thinking, oh, people think I'm stupid. And also, I remember when I initially started stuttering in the first place is when I first moved to this country, and I had to, like, default myself to speaking English more on a regular basis. So there'll be a lot of stuttering because I'll be thinking, oh wait, I didn't quickly translate that in my head, but I'm saying my sentence quickly.
Yeah.
So when I'd start feeling like, oh, you're not good at speaking English, or they're gonna think I'm dumb. They're gonna think I don't know what I'm talking about. Those kind of things. But I was like, if me just stumbling on a couple words results in someone thinking that I am dumb, or that I don't know how to speak English, then there's nothing I can do about it. I know I can speak English. I don't have to prove myself to anyone. And even if they do think I'm dumb, or let's say I am dumb, I don't have to prove myself to anyone because it's not them who's living my life.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. Stop worrying about how you're perceived. Honestly, just perceive yourself how you want to be perceived, and just give yourself grace. Gotta give yourself that grace. Talk to yourself and tell yourself it's alright. If you need to downplay everything, downplay it.
Downplay it until it feels natural.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, one day it will.
Mm.
You know, and there'll be days, again, it's rocky, it's not linear, but a time will come where these things just become less and less important to you. The more you expose yourself to those situations, the more you start caring less about them, because that's just too many things to be thinking about every day. It's too anxious about.
Yeah.
Like at night, you can't replay every single thing that's happened.
Honestly.
So,
And you know, we do that when we're like younger, but I feel like the older you get in life, the more you'll realize that there's no point in just staying in a bad memory. And if you can remind yourself every morning, like, there is no point in thinking about yesterday, because yesterday doesn't exist anymore. Or, you know, a few seconds ago, yes, it has just happened, but it doesn't exist anymore. You're now, you're here, you're now.
yeah.
If that makes any sense. But yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Oh, thank you.
What other ways have we talked to each other through it, you know?
Oh, you know, one thing that really works for me when I've done something so embarrassing,
Yeah.
I normally just text bleep. And like, for example, oh my god, I just had a conversation with this guy, and you know, I feel like I've just overshared. Or I've had a conversation with my colleague and I feel like I've just overshared, and you know, I'll tell her the specific details of the actual scenario, and for her to just come back and be like, well, that's just like such a normal conversation to have with someone. So that kind of calms me down as well, and just makes me realize that I'm overreacting, taking it too far. What was that other word that you described it as?
Overgeneralizing?
Is it overgeneralizing? Overgeneralizing, that's the word. And also just like her reminding me like how she sees me as well helps. You know, she, when you say things like, oh girl, you know, that's nothing to worry about, you're not that person, you're not awkward, you know, you're not weird, you know, this is just one thing, it does not define your whole character. Yeah, maybe you feel like you did something awkward, but that doesn't mean you're awkward. Maybe you feel like you did something weird, but that doesn't mean you're weird. And it took us a while to get to that point, really, because most of the time we just deal with it yourself. Like,
Yeah, you're like, oh, they don't understand, they don't know what I'm going through. And even at some point, it took a while for us to even understand the importance of each other's words to each other. But it took us realizing that the only people's perspectives that should be important in our lives are those that are close to us. The only opinions that should matter are those people that I interact with on a daily basis, that I actually care about. So, for example, Adelaide's opinion of me should be the most important one. So
it took a long time to understand
Yeah,
that for each other.
exactly,
Because
yeah.
I honestly, like, I would know it. You know, like when you know something at the top of your head, but just to like live that. But with training, you'd become that.
Yeah, with
know?
constant reminding. And it took a while to get into the habit of even just telling each other like, oh, I've just done this. I think it's when we realize that we both go through the same thing, where we just feel like, oh,
Exactly.
I just done something embarrassing. We're like, okay, from now on,
Yeah.
I think there was even a point where we used to be embarrassed to share each other's embarrassing stories to each other, because it's like, oh, I don't want her to start seeing me as a loser.
Oh yeah, or to feel some type of way about me. But in a way, when you are vulnerable with each other, or when you express those emotions, then someone can like kind of talk you off the bridge.
Yeah.
If for lack of better words.
Yeah.
So they can be like, well, that's, you know, like what I'm saying, like, that's not what I see when I see you.
Yeah.
Or, you know, maybe everyone needs that person, you know.
Yeah.
We'll
Someone
just tell
to
them.
talk you through it, like, listen, that's completely normal. That's a
Yeah.
normal reaction. That was a normal conversation.
Yeah.
Stuttering in that manner, that didn't mean you didn't know what you're talking about, you know.
Find someone who you can have that with. Like, most people have that in their siblings and their parents, you know, if you're really close to your parents, your partners. And honestly, if you don't have that person, you can always reach out to us. We'll tell you. We'll tell you
talk
how
you through
amazing you are.
Tune into this YouTube channel and we'll talk you through it. How amazing you are. You're brilliant. You're perfectly, fearfully, and wonderfully made.
Yes.
And
You are unique. You are special. You are you. We like that.
yeah,
We like you.
exactly how you are, with your stutters, with your, oh, I've just messed up this sentence, with your and awkward pauses, and taking a while
Nothing
to
awkward
reply.
about them at all.
Yeah.
That's everyday speech.
And even if it is awkward, we love it. That's what makes you you, and it's beautiful. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's the kind of talking you through it that we want to get in on.
Yes.
You know, talk each other through difficult times, talk each other through confidence,
Yeah.
talk each other through awkward times, you know. Just remember the only opinion that matters is your own ultimately at the top of it, but it's important to also express that and have someone reaffirm that to you, you know. And I think, you know, what you shared is really good. It gives me reassurance that our conversations we have are impactful.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that we're actually on the same page.
And I do the same thing, by the way. If I go through something awkward and weird at work, I will text Adelaide about it. I'm like, oh my god, I just had this conversation.
It's kind of weird because when I say I, most of the time it kind of means we. Like, we are the same with each other.
Yeah, most of the things she does, I do, vice versa. Not saying we're the same people, but, you know.
Yeah, we just get each other like that.
Yeah, so, yeah, having a little quick chat, like, oh my gosh, that was so awkward, why did I do that? That quickly calms me down when she says, you know what, that was completely normal. Like that. Anxiety thoughts, gone. Gone. Like,
and you just need to continue training those thoughts. If you don't have a friend you can go to, then you be that person who speaks to yourself. Maybe even like save this video or write like little reminders. Maybe we can make like little short clips so that people can keep them and they can just remind themselves like, yeah, you don't need to be thinking about this right now.
Yeah, like, because I think we should definitely put something like that out there, you know, because there's absolutely no reason why anyone should be sat there having anxious thoughts and anxious worries and letting that take years of their life, stopping them from doing something that they want to do, when, you know, you can literally just tune in and we'll give you that. You know, if you don't have anyone in your life to give you that, you know, you can give it to yourself really and truly, but we can give you somewhere to start.
Yeah, and if you have any words of encouragement for people who might be going through deep anxiety, just leave them down in the comments. What do you do to kind of deal with those stressful feelings, those anxious feelings, those weird thoughts? Share your tips and tricks for everyone else to see.
You never know who you could help in the comments, and for those suffering with that, have a read in the comments, you know. Hopefully people put some very useful things in there.
Yeah. We're actually going to start reading a book called The Courage to be Disliked. I think a lot of anxious feelings come from, you know, that feeling of wanting to be liked, you know. That's
people pleasing.
Exactly. But to be perceived in a good way means you actually care what people think about you.
Yeah.
And that's why we all need the courage to be disliked. So we're going to read that, and if we find some good talking points that we can talk you through, we can talk you through it.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, we'll talk about it if it's helped us a bit more, because again, we're not even there yet.
Yeah.
We've just started, you know, not just started, but, you know, it's a constant journey. Like,
it is,
you know, there is no, you finally got there, you know, especially if it's something that you've been dealing with for a long time. It feels like it's never ending, but hopefully, you know, there's light at the end of the tunnel. So yeah, guys, that was our video today. Do you have anything else you want to share?
No, thank you so much for tuning in, and be sure to like, subscribe, click the little bell, and we'll see you in our next video.
Sayonara! Oh god, that's so corny.
Yeah, we need that.